Hi, and welcome to Section 3 of the course. In this section, we're going to take a look at technology, the effect that technology has had on our lives, and what implications that might have for our pattern of behavior, our way of living, and what moral choices we might want to end up making in response to technology. It seems as though criticizing technology outright doesn't make much sense. Human beings, after all, are kind of tool-using animals. Most other animals, I think, can survive quite well without the use of tools, though human beings seem to depend on tools. Tools include things like clothing and spears, but they include things like fire and language and other implements that we use as a way to help ourselves sort of survive on a planet, given that we don't have the sort of natural features that perhaps other animals end up having. While other animals may indeed use tools, beavers build dams, chimpanzees will use reeds in order to get termites, no other creature on the planet uses technology quite the way we do. And while technology has transformed our lives in many ways that are wonderful and lovely and comfortable, technology ends up being something like a mythical creature, the Hydra. For every hedge you cut off, it grows 2 or 3 new ones. Likewise, technology seems to be such. With every solution that technology gives us, 2 or 3 new problems emerge. So as a result, we human beings live in circumstances that are well nigh the most comfortable circumstances human beings have ever lived in. And yet our very own technology now poses a significant threat to our continued survival on the planet, from things like global warming to pollution to the use of things like artificial intelligence, the weapons that we have created, superbugs that have been created through the use of both pesticides as well as various sorts of antibiotics. Indeed, if I were to list maybe the top 10 things that pose a risk to our continued survival on this planet, short of a meteor hitting the planet, 9 out of 10 species killers are a direct result of our own behavior, most notably the behaviors that tie into our use of technology. So the question that we have is, can technology have a heart, right? Can technology be rationally controlled in such a way that we don't serve technology, rather technology serves us? The effects of modern technology on our world, again, are undeniable. Any grade school kid is, again, well aware of a lot of the problems produced by technology. But it might be worth our time to think about those problems and divide them up into 2 categories. One set of problems, some of the ones I've already mentioned, seem to tie into technology's effect on us materially. How does it affect the world we live in? How does it affect the atmosphere that we breathe? How does it affect the bugs out in our environment that hunt us? But maybe more importantly and less recognized, what sort of effects has technology had on us spiritually or psychologically? We live at a time in which our world is amazingly comfortable, and yet I suspect that feelings of alienation and anxiety are at all times highs. We have all these really cool tools, these cool technologies that are intended to bring us together. All this social media, all this, these really cool phones. And yet I suspect that a lot of people feel more alone, more isolated, more divided from the fruits of their labors than ever before. Technology, too, at a psychological or spiritual level, has made us the most unfree generation of people to ever have walked the planet. Again, your identity will be attached to you forever. Back in the 70s and 80s, we worried quite a bit about the effects technology would have on your continued privacy. And what we're finding is sort of startling. People are purposefully giving away access to their privacy for almost any app, be it something like Snapchat all the way to an app to play some game. You give the app permission to access huge portions of your phone, let alone the access that phone companies end up having not only to what you do, but to where you go, what you're interested in, what you purchase. Now granted, it's likely that they're gathering that information so that they can figure out more stuff about you to sell you things, but nonetheless, our freedom, our ability to go out and do new and unique things, our access to privacy, are the smallest they've ever been. There's also an odd part to technology, almost an ironic part, in that for technology we for so long tried to do things in order to try to adapt the world to us. We built bridges, we made warm clothing, we made better weapons, but at some point along the way human beings decided to do something odd. They decided what they were going to do is they were going to stop using technology and having us adapt to the world, but they decided they'd start using the technology to adapt the world to us. So we live in highly artificial environments. We have changed the atmosphere that we live in. We've paved huge amounts of land with asphalt so that we can drive our cars places here and there. In short, at some point we decided that we were going to use technology in an odd way, almost out of laziness. That is, we didn't want to work so hard. Technology was going to do this stuff for us. But again, ironically, it has made our world so much more complex that adulthood has gone from 18 to 21 to who knows at this point in time what age you'd have to be an adult. And what's the difference? What's the difference between now and a time when my father at, let's say, 18 or 21 was deemed an adult? Well, the world has become ridiculously more complex, right? There's just way more each one of you has to learn to even be basically able to take care of yourselves. What has made our world so complex? Well, technological innovation, right? So this technology, these set of tools, these things that we were doing as an attempt to make life simpler, to make it easier on us, has made our lives way more complex. So again, in spite of all the material problems with modern technology, again, I think there are these really interesting psychological problems that go along with it. In this section, we have 4 readings and a couple of films that I'm going to have you take a look at. The 4 readings you ought to do in pairs. So the first pair is Davis and Ellul. Both of them talk about a common set of problems, but I think both of them are going to end up proposing very different solutions. Our next 2 theorists I'm pretty excited about and I think you'll like. Evelyn Fox Keller and Esther King seem to tie our use of technology to our view of gender. It's no mistake that typically thinking, scientific investigation, right, is somehow seen as masculine, and nature very often is referred to as feminine, right? We talk about Mother Nature. And this approach in our society where we attempt to, through technology, control and force nature to do our bidding, it's hard not to see into that maybe, right, some gender-based views of the world. And both of these theorists will argue that that is indeed the case. Gender and our deployment of technology are connected, but again, are going to have opposing or alternative solutions to that particular problem. So yeah, good stuff. I hope you enjoy it. Before we head out, one thing that's worth noting, that the NRA has this saying that guns don't kill people, people kill people. And ethics aside, maybe, in some sense they're right. And what I mean by that is that they're probably right in that we don't want to start counting objects themselves as moral or immoral. Tools, technology, by its very nature, isn't the sort of thing that could be moral. What we actually want to look at in this section is not technology itself, but whether our use of technology. What do we do with technology? Do we use technology in a way to serve a common good, right? Or, as a lot of their theorists will try to argue, has technology actually gone beyond humans' ability to control? Has it at this point taken on a life of its own? Cool. I hope you enjoy the readings, and check back soon for some other videos as far as those other four theorists go.